Good morning, everyone. My name is Desiree Don Coligado, and for today, I will be discussing to you what is human resource planning. So come and let's enjoy watching. Human resource planning. At the end of the lesson, we will be able to first, define human resource planning. Second, know the objectives of human resource planning. Third, identify the functions of human resource planning. And fourth, enumerate the human resource planning process. Now let's know what are the definitions of human resource planning. First, human resource planning, or HRP, is the continuous process of systematic planning to achieve optimum use of an organization's most valuable asset, the quality employees. Second definition is that it involves having the right number and the right kinds of people at the right places at the right times doing the right kind of tasks that result in long-run maximum individual and organizational benefits. Last, it is concerned with anticipating future manpower needs at different levels in the organization by visualizing the future and determining how best the needed manpower can be recruited. Now, the various definitions of manpower planning emphasize the following four factors. First, forecasting the future needs of manpower. Second, developing the recruitment and selection procedure. Third, proper utilization of available manpower. And fourth, controlling and reviewing the cost of work involved through manpower. Now let's proceed with the human resource objectives. So what are they? First objective, to ensure optimum use of human resources currently employed. Second, to determine future recruitment level. Third, to ensure that necessary resources are available as and when required. Fourth, to forecast future skill requirement to serve as a basis for training and development programs. Sixth, to create plans, rules, and regulations that meets the local and statewide laws in the given industry. Seventh, to develop manuals and guides for employees and managers to follow, whether they are training manuals or safety guides. Eighth objective, to cope with changes in market conditions, technology, government policies, and etc. Now let's move to the human resource planning functions. So what are the functions of HRP? So I have here three HRP functions, the major functions of human resource planning. First, forecasting staffing needs. Second, job analysis. And third, recruiting. So let us define individually those three basic functions. So let's talk about forecasting staffing needs. This one is determined by assessing the firm's growth trends. For example, if the firm is expected to increase production by 10%, it may prepare for the creation of new positions to achieve the projected production level. What is job analysis? It allows the supervisor of the job position to develop a job specification and job description. The job specification states the credentials necessary to qualify for the job position. The job description states the tasks and responsibilities of the job position. Now let's talk about recruiting. Firms use various forms of recruiting to ensure an adequate supply of qualified candidates. Some firms have a human resource manager who helps each specific department recruit candidates for its open positions. Increasingly, companies are also listing positions on their websites. Dell Incorporated, for example, uses the internet extensively in its human resource planning. Furthermore, Dell uses its website to provide potential employees with information about benefits and about the areas where its plants and employment sites are located, such as cost of living estimates. So now let's proceed with the steps involved in human resource planning process. So we got three steps. So let's talk first with step number one. Step number one is the human resource demand forecasting. So why is the human resource demand forecasting important then? It is always important for the management to first identify clearly the number of people required in the future, and then the entire process starts. Resource demand forecasting is often subdivided into long-range and short-range forecasts because there are certain requirements of human resources for the long term, and at times the human resource requirement is to meet short-term objectives, goals, or targets. So, why are those involved in the long trend? So now, let us individually talk about the long-range forecasting subjects. So the firm's long-range business plan. It is important to know the long-range business plans for the firm. For example, if a firm wants to go on in for automation or wants to bring in more of computers and replace the manpower with technology, this factor needs to be taken into consideration for working out a future manpower requirement. How about demographics? The likely changes taking place in the demographic profile of people in the years to come is another important parameter which needs to be taken into consideration while working out the human resource requirements, as the overall rate of growth of the labor force depends to a large extent on the percentage of population in the age group of 18 to 65. So what is the economic conditions? Movements from prosperity to recession and back to prosperity pose considerable problems for the HR executives. Though economic predictions are considerably difficult to make with accuracy, some considerations must be given to the level of economic activity in planning for human resources. Now let's talk about technological trends. Advances in technology have definite effects on the nature and mixture of jobs available. For example, advances in computer technology resulted in a decreased number of bookkeepers and an increase in the number of computer programmers. The use of robots in place of some kind of human labor is also beginning to take off. Now let's talk about social trends. Directly influences the number and the nature of people seeking jobs, especially in case of women and people from minority groups. The social factors also play an important role in affecting the movement of labor from rural to urban areas, which again has its impact on the human resource plan. So that's it for the long trend. Now let's talk about the short range forecasting. So under the short range forecasting are A, production schedules and budgets, B, human resource objectives, and C, relocations, mergers, acquisitions, and plant closures. Now let's talk about production schedules and budgets. In the light of the sales forecast, the requirements of manpower for all other departments need to be worked out in the light of the production program, purchase requirements, research and development, and finance department activities. Now let's talk about human resource objectives. The basic goals or objectives to be followed by the human resource department also play an important role in working out the human resource requirements. For example, if the goal is to hire some minimum percentage of minorities or females in the workforce, then this definitely will be taken into consideration while working out the human resource plan. Now, what about relocations, mergers, acquisitions, plant closures? Why is this included in the short-range forecasting? The reductions in workforce that follow such major changes as mergers, acquisitions, relocations, or plant closures are particularly stressful for not only the employees involved, but also for the HR executives. The HR people should always be informed about such changes as soon as possible, so that they should be able to make arrangements to adjust the manpower wherever required and ensure the termination of employees in a nice and congenial. That's it. So let's move to step number 2. Human resource supply for. So what are the steps involved? Human resource supply forecasting involves current inventory, productivity levels, turnover rate, and absenteeism rate, and movement among. Let's talk about current inventory. Maintaining proper personnel records are essential to indicate the availability of talents in various jobs, units, and divisions within the firm. Productivity levels. Future projection of resource needs are often made on the basis of past experience. As technology improves the productivity levels of a workforce, the number of persons required per unit of output will decline. So it is important for the organization to consider the productivity levels to forecast the future workforce requirements. The turnover rate. The rate of turnover for the organization is an important parameter affecting the human resource planning for future. The turnover takes into consideration separations, quits, discharges, retirement, deaths, replacements, and etc. What about absenteeism rate? Absenteeism is the title given to a condition that exists when a person fails to come to work when properly scheduled to work. Absenteeism obviously reduces the number of personnel actually available for work. So let's talk about movement among jobs. Some jobs are sources of personnel for other jobs. For example, secretaries may be obtained from the promotion of typists, and branch managers are obtained from a pool of section managers through internal transfers. So it is important for the human resource executives to take such internal movements into account before finalizing the requirements for hiring from outside for meeting their future human resource requirements. That's it for step number 2, and let's move forward to step number 3, initiating human resource action. So what are the steps involved in initiating human resource actions? First, hiring. Second, training and development. Third, career management. Fourth, productivity programs. And last, reduction of workforce. Now let's talk about these factors individually. Now let's talk about hiring. In case projected supply is short of projected demand, the addition of new personnel is a likely possibility. Keeping the rate of turnover and absenteeism and the movement amongst various jobs into account, the organization has to work out figures for conducting the recruitment and selection drive. How about training and development? In order to sharpen the skills of people on the job and to prepare them for transferring them to higher positions, in future it is important to impart training and development to them constantly. Career management. It is to the advantage of both the employee and the firm that changes in job assignments to be planned to form a career. HR department should have some system of recording and tracking career moves through the organization. How about productivity programs? Improving productivity levels will increase the supply of human resources available without increasing the number of personnel. Organized labor has also been involved in the process of participating in improved quality of work-life programs and agreeing to alter various work rules that hold down productivity. So let's talk about reductions in workforce. In case the projected supply of human resources is in excess of projected demand, the firm may have to close plants and lay off personnel. A reduction in workforce is always a difficult process for everyone: the employee, the management, the union, the government, and the community. But in a competitive economy of today, such human resource actions are not uncommon, so they need to be handled. That's it. So that's the end of my report, and these are my resources and my references. So thank you so much for watching. Again, my name is Desiree Don Colgado, and I am your reporter for today.